Go ahead, go live. How's it going, boys? I hope you're all doing mighty well today. Let me go down here. Oh fuck, hold on. Stream. Oh damn it. The latency is didn't change the latency yet. How's it going? Explore. All right, so we're gonna try and test the latency in chat and see if it's too bad. I accidentally forgot to change it from normal latency to ultra low latency. So I don't know, we might need to fix that. Or maybe, who knows? We'll find out. But yeah. So we've done a lot of work in Unity. And let me go ahead and show you what we've been working on in VS Code. I zoomed out a little bit. I'll zoom back in. Oh, there we go. Oh, let me actually move. Probably going to be it. Get it pixel perfect. Fuck it. Stuff. Whatever. But so I've cleaned up the code in our player controller. We've got our gun controller over here. We're actually we're gonna move all of this into the player controller. We're gonna keep everything that relates to the player, and that includes gun handling. We're gonna keep it all in the player controller, and we're gonna try and keep it like not necessarily loaded, but we're gonna keep it monolithic. All right, we're gonna pull the Linux kernel method here. Awesome. I hope you enjoy the last stream. We did get a lot of work done, but we're doing a lot of procedural animation stuff. Today we're going to add some gun breathing. Let me go ahead and just show you where we are. So we actually do have the gun going to the idle position. We have a player controller that works. We have gravity, jumping, and the gravity actually works properly. If we go off here, we don't fall down super fast, like our velocity gets reset. We can aim and it works. Yeah. Oh yeah, we also have crouching. I can't forget the good old crouching. So we've got crouching, leaning, that you can lean left, lean right. So you'll be able to shoot around corners, and peek, you know, get right around the corner, peek over, pop, 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 you know, all that good stuff. Yeah. So now we just need to get, like, you know, there to be some actual fucking movement with this gun and not have it be so stiff. Literally the only movement is when we aim. That's just unacceptable. So let's get that fixed. Awesome. Well, let's do this. So first things first, let's clean everything up and get the gun controller moved on over into our blah 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 stuff. So what we are going to need to do is we're going to need to have a function down here underneath update for all of our gun logic. So let's go down here and we're going to go void gun logic. Let's go ahead and make that. And then up here in update, let's just do it at the very bottom. So after we've done all of the stuff for our actual character movement and everything, then we're also going to do everything for our gun logic. And also, one advantage of keeping it monolithic like this, especially when you are doing what I'm doing and keeping it organized with like regions and stuff, is you can also at a very clear glance tell just how much bullshit you have going on in your update function. Because right now we do have, I mean, we don't really have too much stuff going on, but you do get a view of the amount of logic that we're already taking in, and doing just for the basics of the game. So now, most likely our whole inventory system, that is going to be done on its own script, because that's going to be a fucking nightmare. So, by the way, if you've never done an inventory system in any game engine, you're a blessed individual. Inventories there is no way around it. There's no way that you're like, oh, I'm going to make this super simple inventory system and it just work. Like, no, there is so many unforeseen bugs. Like, there's just so many different things that you don't take into account. It's a fucking nightmare. But it is really fucking awesome when you have a working, if I could think for a second, inventory system. There we go. So we've got our input system and everything all perfectly set up. What we need to do is go over here, grab these private variables. I don't know why I'm speaking with a lisp right now, but why not? We're going to throw these variables down in here, our aim down, sight position, and all of that. And our, we're going to have a reference. Oh, wait, no, this one is not going to be private. This one is going to be a public object reference. This one is going to be public gun, or public transform gun pose. And we are also going to have a public transform CM4 idle. Control C, Control V. And then guns available and player state. We're probably going to do the player states a very different way once we start getting into it, but for right now we just got a whole bunch of booleans, and we can actually create a state machine and do it a much fancier way some point down the line, but just for right now we're going to rock that. In the awake, let's copy this. But instead of transform.local position, it's going to be gun pose.local position, gun pose.local position, or local rotation. Set it to the idle position. At the start, we want to idle our gun. And then inside of the update function, this if CM4 here, which that's the gun that we have in our hands or available, whatever. If we go down here into our gun logic, this is where we want to slap this bitch. Boom. If CM4, all that good stuff. And then we also want our handle ADS. So go down here into our inputs, and we'll put it down here at the bottom. Handle ADS. Save this. Close our inputs. And close the gun controller. down here to the gun position, gun controller script, remove component, go over here to the gun controller and delete, reload everything. Click on our player, click on our player inputs, events, player, and we want to go down to ADS, and we want to drag in our player object, click on it, go to player controller and handle it. So go, that's all set up. Now let's close that, drop down our player controller, gun position, boom, and M4 idle, boom. Now we need to go back here into the script and we need to change some of this logic, because here where we're doing the transform.local position, it actually needs to be gun position, gun position, gun position, gun position, gun position, gun position. Okay. Here, position, gun position. Change all of this to gun position. Correct. Minimize beans. Not too complex. So ADS functionality works. All of the movement logic works just fine. We are all Gucci. Perfect. Now we just got to get our weapon sway and breathing added in, and we're going to be real good. It's going to look much better once we get the weapon sway and breathing added in there. So this guy, he uses this right here as the curve algorithm or whatever you want to call it. Here. So let's paste this in, tab this. So it's a curve. I don't even know how you would pronounce that. Neither does he, which I respect. But it's a good curve. It's kind of like a sine wave. I mean, it's kind of like a sine wave, but it's more like reciprocal, and he's not wrong in the video. This is pretty much the best breathing curve function thing that I've seen, because there's a lot of different ways to do it, and I mean, this is using a sine wave, but it's not a regular one. It's very nice. It is very nice. Now the rest of his project, I have no idea what the fuck is going on. This guy's got like 6 capsule colliders on his player character. Why? I don't know. They're kind of like half stacked on top of each other, and his player is super tall. Why? I don't know. Yeah.
Out, and then we'll click and drag weapon animations into our weapon sway object.
Fraggle, how's it going?
Okay, so going
Scott,
into our weapon controller script,
how's it going?
We'll create a new header, and we're just going to create a reference to that new object. We'll create that'll basically just mimic breathe. Actually, just to make it a little bit clearer, we'll just call this weapon sway, the header. Alright, and we'll go over to Unity.
So now for our breathing effect, because I mean, we might want different breathing intensities for different weapons. No, we won't. We won't. All right, so up to you guys. I want your input. Since I am trying, for the most part, to keep all of the stuff that's player related in here, we're doing a monolithic script, player controller script. We're gonna, keep it organized and neatly written, but we're gonna try and keep it as monolithic as possible. Do we put breathing in here, or do we put that in a separate script on the actual breathing object? I mean, we definitely could just keep it here. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, wow. Interesting. I would not have expected you to have learned about this. I'd never heard about it before today. I like it. I like your logic, Fraggle. Can always count on you to have my back. Well, I mean, everybody in chat's got my back, but I can actually count on pretty much everyone in the stream to have my back in almost all times. Unless there's good lols to be had in not being on my side. Okay, so let's go in here because
we'll just make sure we assign that new weapon sway variable we just created.
So for us, we are going to go up here. We are going to create a new header for weapon sway. Stuff. Or you know what? We really don't need it because we're going to make all of our variables private because we're not going to be changing the breathing after runtime because the effect we're going to try to make really subtle. So we're just going to reuse it on every single weapon. Should work just fine. We'll see down the line, but it should work just fine. Let's go up here, object references, and we need a public transform gun breathe post. Save that. Then let's back into Unity and go ahead and slap the gun breathe position on here. Because when it comes to messing with like local positions and local rotations and everything, we do really want to keep it, separate on different things. The gun pivot is where we're going to have the sway, and then we can add more things above the gun mount or animate the gun mount itself if we do. But I think we're good on stuff right now. I think we've got all the game objects we need in here. So anyway, player, we got the gun breathe added. And now we're going to add...
Go back into our script. Okay, so the function we're going to be using is basically, it's going to return a curve. So we'll going to try to announce that. It's called a Lesageous. And basically I've just kept hold of it ever since. I recommend you do the same because it's actually a very useful function to use. And this curve is known for producing quite good looking breathing. Cool. Alright, so let's go back in.
Actually, Analytic, you do bring up a good point with this not being Linux, and welcome to the stream. Because actually somebody did post a comment on the initial devlog, like kind of announcing the project, talking about modeling and animating and stuff, which looks like we're not going to be using any of the Blender stuff I did, so yay. But someone did comment and they were like, well, in your description you talk about how you're like, you know, passionate about open source and free software and Linux, and you're using Unity, you know, VS Code, like all, like, you know, you're not using proprietary stuff, or you're using proprietary stuff. So actually I do want to go ahead and say I am recording a lot of this work, and I'm going to be doing another devlog that'll hopefully be much nicer, and hopefully also explain stuff in a better way, and overall just be a more pleasurable video to watch. But one of the things that I am covering in that video is this project. One of the reasons we're going with it is because we want to really get the actual game loop and the experience good and very enjoyable to play with a whole bunch of the assets that I already own in Unity. So it cuts down on a lot of development time, like massively. And so hopefully what we're going to do with this game is use the insane amount of assets that I've already purchased in the past, so that my money doesn't just go down an endless hole, and we'll make something that's fun and enjoyable to play. And then hopefully, if this is a success, use the funds that we get from that to pay artists to get really nice models, really nice textures, and all of that stuff. And then in a open source game engine, most likely Godot, which fingers crossed, the more time you give Godot to cook, it'll always be better. It massively improves like every 6 months, like incredibly. So hopefully by the end of this project, and by the time it's actually released and, you know, people are buying it on Steam and or itch or whatever, hopefully we'll have gotten enough money and Godot will have matured even more, where you know, it'll be not as time consuming to do stuff, because there's a lot of time saving features that Unity has that Godot is just now implementing. So yeah, pretty much the best explanation I can give. Good. I want people to loll at me. Come on, Fraggle. Of course.
Just create another function. So create a private void.
What a game. Well, I mean, we probably will do. I don't know about heartbeat and breathing monitors and stuff like that, because that's like can get pretty obtrusive, and also we want to keep the game HUD and everything as clean as possible. But definitely going to do something where when you get shot, you know, like there's on-screen visual indicators like blood dripping on the screen, or, you know, something like that. Definitely going to do something like that. Good point. Good point, Analytic. Good point.
and we'll just call it calculate.
Got to do Josh's job. I mean, someone's got to be here to do it.
Weapon sway. Cool. All right, and then.
All right. So, other than our gun logic script here, we're going to have another one. We are going to make this private, because why not? We could also make the gun logic private, but really doesn't matter. We'll just do the same thing he did, calculate weapon sway.
We'll just make sure that this is inside the update. Expand that, pop that in here.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
I really want to get to the point where
variables.
There we go. Variables.
So, like I said, this will return a curve. We need to hand it the time, so we'll create a variable to keep hold of the time. Just obviously the time being the position of the curve, and A and B, which will basically alter the curve. So,
which I believe it's frequency and intensity, right? Let's see. A times this. Yeah, frequency and intensity, right? Or no, intensity and frequency. I think it is frequency, intensity, not sure. Let's go down in here to our private references, and we are going to have private float sway time, and we're going to set that to nothing. We could just not do the sway time like he's doing it here, but there's a reason we'll keep it for right now. I want to play around with it. Sway time, which I don't think we set that to anything. Private float. Oh, Josh, perfect timing. Oh, a pizza in the oven. I'm pretty jealous. We are getting the breathing and getting the breathing and sway set up. Float intensity 2. I think it is frequency and intensity for the A and B down in here. Pretty sure it's A times the sine. That would be frequency. Then B in here over the time tells it how high to go. I'm pretty sure, but I'm a fucking idiot, so I have no idea. I could be completely wrong. But so we've got our sway time variable, our A and B, which we could just pass in time.delta time to it, but we'll keep the sway variable for right now.
It'll be a lot easier to explain once you can actually see it working. So we'll create a public float for sway amount. Let's make that 1 and this one 2. And we'll give that a default value of like 600. So with the sway scale, it's going to do what it says on the tin. I literally just want to be able to scale the breathing depending on the weapon. So I'm going
to... Okay. Sway scale. Oop. Float sway scale equals 600F.
Include it in a variable. And what I also want to do is either smooth damp or lap. We're gonna go with lap, and if it looks good, we'll leave it. So I want a public float for sway lap speed. Let's give that a default value of 14.
Private float sway blurb speed. We'll just do 15. Just keep it pretty close to him. Set it up. And then we're going to do a lot of edits to this.
And let's also create a public sway time. Sorry, a public float. We just want that to be 0. We're going to create a public vector 3. Actually, we'll just call that sway position.
Okay. Private vector 3 sway position.
Okay, so we're going to be using this function that position, and we'll set that to the result of this function. Okay, so 3 things we need to hand in. So we need to hand in our sway time, our sway amount A, and our sway amount B. Okay, so it's literally that simple. And then what we could say is sway position equals vector 3 dot lap. And the values we're going to be lapping is we're going to lap our sway position to our target position. And what we're going to do is we're going to use time dot, we want a smooth delta time, and we'll times that by our lap speed. Okay, and just below that, what we want to do is we want to do our sway object dot position equals sway position.
Oh, make that bigger so it's actually visible. Vector 3. So we're going to take this sway position. We go from there to the target position. Over time. We could do smooth delta time, but time works just. If you're having massive frame drops anyway. Doesn't really matter that the animation look half decent and correct alpha sway lerp speed. And we're going to go in breathe position. Dot position. Or local, yeah, it's a local position. Is equal to instead of giving away time, we're just going to give time dot, because we don't give a fuck, Aisha, about rolling time that's going through there. We just want it to start and go with the game. Time dot delta time. That's the speed it goes through the curve at. Give it the frequency and intensity. We also have our sway scale, which I cannot remember exactly how we're going to implement that. But
except we don't want to just edit the position. We
could just keep watching.
We want to set the local position. Cool. All right, so let's go back into Unity and I'll kind of show you how this works. Okay, so on the weapon, we have A is 1, B is 2, can remain at 0, and sway position can remain at 0. Okay, so I'm just going to hit play, and I'll show you how changing the sway time.
Okay, so let's just go ahead and test it. So when we don't have any sway time, we're just feeding it time.delta time. Let's see how this works. Okay, nothing's happening. Oh, that's right. We didn't add it into update. Skipped over that part. Take this right here, calculate and sway. And add that in. Now we'll actually have something happen. Okay, it is going through there. Like, it is definitely doing something. But it is jittering out hardcore. And also it makes it to where we don't go to the actual center of the screen. I think it's because our scale is so high.
Place in the curve. Just put in our scale so that we can scale it down. Because obviously depending on how close your weapon is to the camera depends on the kind of scale you want to get. And what we'll do is this target position, we'll just divide that by our sway scale. And just like that.
Oh my gosh. Horizontal scroll is so fast. Divided by. Honestly, don't know. All. Public. Play focus. That looks good. Actually looks like a walking ant.
That should be okay. So with 600, I'm going to give that a go, hit play. We'll adjust the sway time. Yeah, maybe 600 is a little too much. Let's just go with 100 for now. Just move the sway time. Okay, so I'm happy with that scale.
I mean, if we can get this to play really slow, this is going to do great. And then if we can get it to play fast, we can use it as a running ant.
Let's go ahead,
or at least add it to the
running.
running.
This sway time ascending. So it's nice and simple. All we'll do is sway time plus equals time dot delta time. So if we go into it now,
do sway time to time dot time. See how it looks. Oh. Fantastic. Here, if because we need to reset sway time. We don't need to, but it keeps the values for that variable from going like super high and taking up like a lot of memory for no fucking reason. So if sway time is greater than, because I think he did this in the video too. I think it's like 6.3. We'll change that value to get it to where if there is any jump in the animation. If sway time is greater than 6.3, then set sway time equal to 0. And I, just in case you don't know, the reason why I add the F's is because it is a float value, and you don't have to necessarily add the F value in there, but it's good practice to always do it. So goes up and down. The shadow situation needs to be fixed, but that's for another time. There we go. Right. Got beautiful weapon sway. Absolutely beautiful. Oh yeah, and by the way, when we press escape and I get my mouse back, everything does pause. It did set up pausing functionality. Dude, fucking yeet. Eat 'em, skeet 'em, brother. All right. So now what happens if we take the time.delta time, multiply it by 2. Multiply by 2. So we move through it twice as fast. I think that's going to work. I mean, it needs to be turned up a bit. Like for walking, I think let's try 2.5. Not doing the F here. Like, no autocomplete? No, we've got autocomplete. I think if we turn it up to 2.75, that would be perfect for walking. So let's do this. If statement. That'll if what am I trying? Can't think or say nothing. So if the walk vector dot x not equal to 0, let's see, not equal to 0 or walk vector. Oh wait, hold on. I think for if walk vector hold on. If walk vector x to 0 and walk vector dot y is equal to 0, then we're just going to do sway time plus equals time delta time. And then for right now, we'll just do this. So if we are walking, add that. now, oh wait, hold on, let me go back in here. This. Oh, yeah, I really don't care. I haven't set it up. So far it's been fine. To be honest, the only reason I now know it is because you mentioned it. It's probably I just didn't do some of the setup for Unity and VS Code. I probably missed one thing, which is not unlike me. All right, maybe we need to take it up to like 3.25 for walking. Let's do 3. Like a play, a mundo. Yeah, let's just turn it up to 4. I think 4 is going to work just fine. Not going to be too fast. Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty damn good. Now we just got to get some sway added in here. Eventually we'll get running functionality added. All of that good stuff. Yeah. I think that's pretty damn perfect. Oh my God. Of course Josh posts in fucking Discord. Use Unity with Emacs. The better solution. VS Code. Vim. Oh. Oh. The JK on the end there is pretty important. Good Lord. That's one hell of a suggestion. Using Emacs with Unity does not sound like a good experience. Well, it running under Linux is not the problem. It needs to be able to reload the scripts after I edit them. That's a big thing that a lot of the time doesn't work with Unity on Linux. So you have to like manually like reload the scripts, which option in Unity is not exactly front and center. But also I'm not really too keen on moving just because I don't want to lose anything with the project or have to do a whole bunch of setup. Just do the same thing that I'm going to do now. So. So let's see. We got the gun breathing effect added in. So now we need gun sway Unity.
Hey guys, it's Play. Yes, I'm back. The reason I've been gone for 4 months is because I was on vacation. A really long vacation, so I didn't have access to my PC. In this video I'll teach you how to create some really simple weapon sway. Without wasting any more time, let's get started. In this scene here I have a very basic FPS setup. just an FPS controller and a weapon. As you can see, the weapon looks very static and it doesn't feel very good. Let's fix that. So in the hierarchy, I have a camera holder which holds the camera. I also have an empty game object called weapon holder that the weapons will be a child of. Firstly, I'll need to create a script called weapon sway and add it to the weapon holder. If you have a different setup, just add it to whatever game object holds your weapons. Now let's open up the script in Visual Studio. First, we need a few fields.
If you've got a Mac, you can just run. Unity actually works pretty damn well on Mac OS. Like, Unity works really well on proprietary platforms like Windows and Mac. Runs really well, and it's only because their development teams actually focus on those platforms, because a lot of people actually professionally make games on Mac and Windows. Their Linux version is really just there to make the people who ask for it happy, and then nobody uses it. Like, very, very few people actually develop with Unity on Linux. Very, very few people. Now, a lot of people that are developing on Windows and Mac also publish to Linux because Unity makes it extraordinarily easy. But well, so Josh, I talked about it earlier, and this will be part of the next devlog that comes out, because I did a very poor job of explaining it, and some people are very confused about my like open source and like Linux affiliation and making this game in Unity, definitely using Windows and a whole bunch of proprietary assets and stuff, and it not being open source. So the whole goal with this is I've spent hundreds of dollars on assets with Unity in the past, and I'm just very familiar with Unity. So we're going to make this game with Unity. We're going to get a really defined, good gameplay loop, get the experience really good and something that people want to replay a lot, and really flesh out the gameplay and mechanics of it in a solo experience. And then hopefully, if this project does well and, actually sells well, then we'll use those funds to pay modelers, artists, to get us better textures and better models. And then we will actually make a completely open source. All of the assets will be open source. Everything will be open source. It'll be available in Linux repos, all of that stuff, as well as on Steam and everything else. But we'll make the next one a completely free and open source game, but hopefully leverage the funds that this game makes to make something really nice for open source. And we're going to take everything from this game and hopefully give it a graphical bump, a visual fidelity bump, and make it multiplayer, and that will be the open source version. So like, essentially we're using this as a I guess you could say, like, we're using it as a runway for the actual open source project. That way, everyone for free can get really nice models and stuff that they would like to use in their own projects. Stuff like that.
To adjust how the weapon sway feels. A float for the smoothing, and a float that will act as a multiplier. Then in update, we first need to get the mouse input. So I'll create two floats again. One for the horizontal input and one for the...
Oh my god. Wowzers. All right. Well, luckily we already have that. So got movement settings. Sway time. Get private now. Do public float. Of course, we use sway for all that. That's actually the breathing stuff, but sorry, just doing a little bit of thinking. So we'll do sway smooth here, and a public float, which we're going to make these private anyway. Sway multiplier. Going to want to X values up here, and we're just going to keep this in our sway logic, just because our breathing and actual input sway, they're both swaying the gun. It's just at different positions. So go down here. I guess we could add a little comment and go call this input sway. So we have our breathe, and then our input sway. V float mouse X look vector dot X. Here, some sensitivity, we do sway multiplier. I don't know if he's going to add multiplier.
The vertical input. To get the input, we can use input.getAxis raw, which returns the raw mouse input. We're also going to multiply this with the sway multiplier. Next, we need to calculate the target rotation. To do this, we're going to use a method called angle axis. This method takes in two arguments, a float for the angle and a vector 3 for the axis, and it returns a quaternion for that angle and axis. So first, I'll create a quaternion for the x-axis. I'll call it x rotation, and we'll pass in the negative vertical input for the angle and vector 3.right for the axis. The reason we're using the negative input is because it's inverted otherwise. We'll do something very similar for the y rotation, but instead pass in horizontal input for the angle and vector 3.up for the axis. No need to.
And instead of doing just the vector 3.right, vector 3.up, we actually need to feed it the transforms for the correct object, which case gun pivot here, public transform gun pivot. Fuck. Oh. Wait. Oh, 180. Oh, yeah. Comment out this line. Let's get this to reload. Sweet. Not really. Easy Android is a little different. Mainly just because, I mean, it's not like it wouldn't be something that we could do, but we'd also have to add the UI inputs for a screen. Then also we'd have to do some testing because most likely we'd have to do a lot of optimization to get it to run well on Android, at least on most Android tablets, devices. YouTube's trying to get everyone to paint their nails right now, bro. Let's be honest. Let's be real. No. Okay. All right, boys. Well, we're going to have to call it a day right here. Let me save this and save my Unity project. Yeah, we're going to have to end it here. I've got to go take my mom and run some errands, and then I'll be right back, and we're going to continue the stream. Just going to keep working on the sway and all that good stuff. So, yeah, hopefully I'll see you guys back here in a bit. We'll have some fantastic more fun doing some more cool stuff here. We'll get the sway added in. It'll start looking real nice once we get that sway added in. Look real good. So, yeah, I'll see you boys. Bye.